What up, YouTube? What's good? Welcome back to another video. Alright, so do you think that Colin Kaepernick is considered a race traitor? And I know some of you watching are probably going to be like, what? No. I mean, look at what he's been, able to start up, right? Look at how he's put himself into a dangerous, compromising position, right? And all that good stuff, right? And that all is true, but I'm asking this question. Well, I'm asking this question from the point of view of, say, white people, and usually I'm tend to concentrate on us. But let's take the spotlight off of us for just a second and concentrate on, the reaction that some of these white folks have. You know. So, do you think they consider him to be a race traitor? Right? For them, they'd be like, well, your mom is white, right? And then the rebuttal to that would be, well, his mother um, gave him up for adoption, right? And then their rebuttal would be, well, white people adopted him and raised him, right? So usually your loyalty would lie with the people who raised you, right? Because let's say on the flip side, let's say if Colin Kaepernick was adopted by a black family, right, and raised, and never really had much of a connection with his white side of the family, right? But then all of a sudden he goes out and claims a white identity, right, and wants to protest on behalf of, like, these, well, why am I doing quotes there? These KKK killer cops out here, right? The black community, we would feel some type of way about that, right? We'd be like, hey, wait a minute, like, we raised you, we took care of you and raised you and, held you down and helped you get to this platform that you're at now. And then when you get there, you turn your backs on us, right? That's how we would feel about that, right? But in this situation, I think some white people may feel some type of way about that. Because they may feel like, well, why are you calling out racism and trying to make us look racist, right? Considering that we raised you, your loyalty should be to us, not to them. You should not be claiming a black identity because you don't really have much of a connection with the black side of your family. You have more of a connection to whiteness than the blackness, right? Right. So at this point, do you think, is it, in the case of Colin Kaepernick, is it good to be a race traitor? Do you think that he did the right thing by, I guess, more or less betraying white people? Should he have just not have said anything? Do you think it was worth it? Because sometimes I'm looking at some of these situations that come up in the media where, black or black identified people do speak up. And then sometimes it's like, well, what happens next? Like, does the black community really have their backs, right? Or do they just let them just fend for themselves once they've spoken up and received the backlash for speaking up on issues, right? I mean, because in the case of Colin Kaepernick, he had a lot of reasons not to speak up, right? Like, oh, my mom was white, or my mom's white, was adopted and raised by white people, and all that stuff, right? But for some reason, it didn't go down like that, right? And I just kind of wonder, like, like, I know this is probably like weird, but kind of like wondering, how was Colin Kaepernick's upbringing as a child? Was he like raised in a majority white environment? Was he often reminded that he was different from the other kids that he went to school with or that were in his neighborhood? Was he always reminded that he was the black one? You know, kind of like, where did his, like, I guess, moment of consciousness come into play? I guess is what woke him up, right? I wonder when and where that happened. I think I heard that it may have happened when he was helping like a black friend move or something. I think I remember reading that somewhere. And then I guess something happened with like the cops or something. I guess they thought they were stealing or something. I don't know. You know, my personal opinion, I do look at Traitors a bit. Well, not a bit, but you know, you always get a Traitor a side eye. But I will say that in some cases, right, there can be, I guess, the honorable traitor. You don't really hear that term, right? You don't really hear that term, the honorable traitor, right? And I believe in this case, Colin Kaepernick would be the honorable traitor. You know, being a traitor, but for the right reasons, right? Which I think a lot of these people who claim to be white allies, that's probably what they're going to have to do if they want to be effective in being a true white ally, right? Because you know, some folks love to be like the noun, a white ally, but they don't want to actually be the verb, you know, white ally. You know? And also many of them are still invested in whiteness, even though they claim to be, they kind of like position and posture themselves to be more or less, you know, allies, white allies, what have you. But I think sometimes it's more like, well, let me do something to kind of like, you know, make me feel less guilty, you know, make them feel less bad about the situation. So it's like, you know, I did my part, you know, so I'm not to blame, right? I did my part, so you can't come for me. Sometimes I think that's what it'd be about. Well, I guess I'll bring this video to a close. Don't want to keep you guys for too long, so thank you very much for watching. Feel free to comment. Adios and goodbye for now.